I'm here this morning. It's kind of a rainy, nasty morning. I'm here with Barret Williams. Barret is an undergraduate student at Stephen F. Austin who's published a salacious, I think it's a salacious article, calling states losers, and he names names. I want to throw it to Barret and get an explanation for this salacious article. What say you, Barret?
Yeah, so there's a collection of really 9 states in the United States which have massive trade deficits, right? And and oftentimes, especially in the current time, we think of trade as a zero-sum game. So there's winners and there's losers. Some places do it better, some places do it worse, right? And oftentimes the main thing you'll hear is, China's doing it better, the United States is doing it worse because we have a trade deficit with China. And so if we're going to follow this logic and kind of apply it down, then, well, all of the states are individual governments. There's, different exports, different imports, different economies in the different states in the United States. We are a united group of states, after all. And so there's a disparity. There's a certain collection of states which are responsible for this massive trade deficit which we have. Now, the interesting thing about these loser states is that they are states like California, Illinois, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Florida, right? These are major economies. These are the major hubs of the country, really, and the major economic powerhouses, right? Out of the 9 states which have the vast majority of the country's trade deficit, those are also 6 of the top 10 states in GDP, right? They're the 6 highest contributors.
So GDP, help us out. What do you mean by GDP?
So GDP is your gross domestic product. It's a representative of how much you're actually producing, how much the country produces. And so states with larger GDPs, especially larger GDPs per capita, which is per citizen, are producing more, they're more productive, and they're going to be wealthier. And so these states, which are losers trade-wise, also have fantastic economies. They're roaring economies. They're pushing the whole rest of the country forward.
So I think I get your point here. So you're not actually calling them losers.
No.
So you're saying if trade is a zero-sum game where one party wins and the other party loses, then these would be the biggest loser states in the nation. However, these are powerhouses. I think California alone represents about 12%. Out of 50 states, 12%. Of our economy. So I get the point. And it's a really interesting angle to take on sort of this long-held push to focus on trade deficits, right? So why are we importing more than we export? And of course, there are other angles that people have taken on this, but I think this is a really creative angle, and really appreciated the article, which we'll link, of course. So let's spin off that a little bit. So how does an undergraduate student who's at Stephen F. Austin State, how do you end up publishing an article?
Yeah, so this is published with the Competitive Enterprise Institute in Washington, D.C., where I was interning over the summer. And it was through the Koch internship program, which is now part of Stand Together Fellowships, which is a large organization, Washington-based kind of think tank and research organization. And so they will bring in interns, and then they will distribute these interns. This is a national program. Many high-ranked universities participate in it. Just some of my coworkers were from Duke and Notre Dame and so on and so forth. And so they take these different programs, they take these different people from all around the country, and then they disperse them into different organizations within Washington, D.C., some state-level think tanks. And so I was one of the people who applied, in large part thanks to Dr. Phelps and through the Economics Reading Group. And after a lengthy kind of application process where you talk about your political philosophy, how these different things work, I got accepted. I joined the Competitive Enterprise Institute, which was a second application process. And I was working under Ryan Young, the senior economist. And when you're working in these kind of organizations, you're expected to really self-start in a lot of ways. So you're going to have work assigned to you. Like I had a lot of work assigned to me from Ryan Young, especially research to help with his projects. but then you also have some time, and you're expected to use this time to the best of your ability and to make products, right? You're working, you're supposed to produce. And so one of the things that I was expected to produce was blog posts and articles consistently, and one of these was on what is loser states. And I got this primarily from OEC data, and just really playing around with the different tools, and you can see the different what different states, what different countries, where trade deficits and trade surpluses take place.
Cool. Yeah. So we'll of course link those websites as well.
Yes.
I wanted to touch on two things that you mentioned. One thing was the economics reading group. We'll circle back to that. But the main thing was your personal passion for political philosophy. So,
yes.
What got you started? And talk about some of the books that you've read that were impressionable to your development of your own sort of political philosophy.
Yeah, so I was really interested in politics since I can really remember. But I think that down to the actual absolute boiling down of politics comes down to economics. And I think that that's because economics impacts really every other aspect of your life. Every policy, whether you realize it or not, has some kind of economic impact that needs to be studied and needs to be paid attention to, because this is going to impact people's lives. And so this really kind of became aware to me because of Milton Friedman and watching his lecture series back when I was in high school. And so it was very interesting, very fascinating. And as that kind of grew, I spiraled. And so I've read I've spiraled into the economic rabbit hole.
Yeah, Milton, I mean, his stuff is so good, and it's out there. When I first read Free to Choose with the reading group, it was just sort of a kindred spirit. As I read the words, you know, you kind of, it really spoke to me and kind of hit me right in my intuition, I would say. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, yes. But they continued off of there with different, Austrian, different Chicagoan school influences, because there's different schools of thoughts in economics. And so people like Ludwig von Mises have big impact on me. I read, his book, a treatise on economics. Treatise on economics.
Well, the title's
Human Action. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. And Joseph Schumpeter. Great. These are great influences, great thinkers at the time.
The Churn was published recently, or right up on the Churn was published by the Dallas Fed. And I say recently; it's been a long time, but that's a great sort of breakthrough piece if you want to go into a rabbit hole on this field of thought. Yeah. So. Yeah, I think some Thomas Sowell.
Yes, Thomas Sowell with Applied Economics. Yeah. Boring title, amazing, fascinating book.
Yeah, I mean his stuff is great. When I listen to him speak, I feel like, I feel challenged, and I feel a little slow, to be honest. It's like, wow, this guy is so bright.
Absolutely.
And the way that he communicates is so efficient and thorough, I would say. Yeah, so that's great. Let's wrap things up by talking a little bit about the reading group. What's been your experience with that? Who is it available to? Where can people kind of get dialed in on it, et cetera?
Yeah, so I've been in the Econ reading group ever since I've been at SFA. It's changed a lot in many ways, and it's stayed the same in many other good ways. And I think it's a great experience. I've met a lot of very cool people. People who I would not have expected to meet. It's open to all members. It's all open to all students, all different areas. And so there was one semester where we had an interesting dynamic where we had a bunch of social sciences majors. And so you would think typically, kind of clashing between those things and economics, but it gave really lively and interesting discussions. We have marketing majors, we have business majors, we have people who don't even plan to do anything in business, but are fascinated and want to have discussions about things that will impact their lives.
Yeah, economics really touches on every aspect of life, and I always love when we get people with different perspectives. From time to time, we've had members of the local community, we've had doctors, we've had local business owners.
Yes.
So yeah, and I found that when you carefully dive into a topic and approach it from the right angle, what you find is topic by topic, almost everybody comes to agreement on these issues. again, on an issue-by-issue basis, which is surprising. But it's not necessarily the case. You know, we sometimes will have faculty that disagree, and I think one of the healthiest things for students to come out of this group is to be in a live setting where, you know, educated folks disagree in a calm and logical way, and maybe don't even come to agreement. But you know, ever since we started doing this, it's such a rewarding experience, and I think it's needed now more than ever to have people in person debating, hearing things. Opinions and ideas that would have never occurred to them, and also, you know, we've kind of put an emphasis lately on giving students a chance to speak, to read something, to come prepared, and to share their thoughts. And that's actually how I learned of your article. And as soon as I did, I was like, this is a great piece. We need to get that out there. And so, you know, thanks for being a part. Thanks for being the president and helping us run and organize the reading group. And yeah, we'll have all of your, we'll link this one, and we'll link the sources that you use for the article. And I think we'll have to do this again and talk about some of those other pieces that you were able to publish. But thanks for your time.
It's been a blast.
All right. Talk to you later.